Starbreeze explains ongoing Payday 3 patch delay. There was a significant risk to player progression being wiped by update errors. The Payday 3 update patch is finally here, but before we get into that, I just wanted to comment on this statement that they released in October. Their update pipeline at Starbreeze was so fundamentally flawed that they were not certain that if they tried to update the game, that it would just wipe all current player progress and progression that has been tracked since the launch of the game. So that's something that you would assume you would have figured out by the time you have published your game live and you're charging people money to buy the product. The short version is we discovered critical errors with our update pipeline shortly after the game released, Starbreeze said, if we didn't address this and ensure a solid test environment. Did you not have a solid test environment when you were testing the game before launch? The console verification process also held up the patch process as well, because whereas on PC they can just push out updates right away and there is no verification process, but still the PC version has to wait to get an update. They have to wait for the consoles to get verified. So PC players really suffer in that respect, because Starbreeze wants everyone to be playing cross-platform and everyone to be able to be connected across every platform. So with that comes withholding patches and instant hot fixes to PC, because they're forever going to have to wait for the console verification process. Every time they want to issue an update, it's going to have to take some time, which means hot fixes are just not going to be easy moving forward, especially not for PC. I will not lie, the lack of communication over these few weeks has eroded a lot of trust with the community. I was willing to defend the company at launch, but at this point, I can't in good faith defend some of your actions and lack of communication, and I agree. I think that the radio silence, and I talked about it in my previous videos, it's just unacceptable. I don't care what the issues were. They're doing dev streams constantly. They have their Twitter. There's so many things they could have done to be more transparent about what was going on and to make it worth players' while for hanging in there, which it doesn't really seem like they have. There's no new content. There's no new free little cosmetics or in-game currency or a new map or anything like that. No new goodies, spoiler alert, have been released with this new patch. It's all purely damage control, not really adding anything to the experience or rewarding any diehard fans for sticking with the game this long and returning. Finally, the patch is here. The update 1.01 went live November 3rd, I believe. There's no new content, but there's a ton of fixes. And there are many, many fixes here. Don't get me wrong. Tons of bug fixes, tons of crash fixes, updated aim assist function for PS5 controllers. They fixed an issue where the throwing knives couldn't be picked up when the equipped primary or secondary weapon had full ammo, and that was kind of preventing some people from doing like crazy throwing knife builds where they never had to shoot their gun. Now that's viable again. So just little things like that, if you were already getting into the nitty-gritty playing this game, you're going to be, I'm sure there's tons of things happening here that are going to tickle your fancy. Tons of little idiosyncratic changes and bug fixes or quality of life changes to these little functions within each individual heist or certain mechanics of the game. But if you fundamentally have not been enjoying the Payday experience for what it is, for the game that it is, for the gameplay loop that it has, for the polish that it possesses, this patch 1.01 is not going to bring you back. It's not going to be enough to make it worth your while. We're finally up and running as things should be. That should have happened before you launched your game, before you were charging people upwards of $100 premium deluxe edition season pass. There's so much you should have done prior to releasing this game to make sure it was up to par, and they just didn't. I know that people are going to forget about all this. It's a little bit of time will go by and people will forget all about what has gone on with this game's launch. There's going to be tons of people who hop on board and they're going to eat it up. But, I urge you to not forget this. I urge you to write this in your diary, write this in your journal, wherever you have to put it, write it on your hand, tie a string around your finger, whatever you have to do, because this has been such a sneak peek at how Starbreeze is going to handle this live service game, and it's terrible. I mean, it's just like, why invest money or playtime or attention, interest, whatever, your focus into a game that the developers couldn't even, they're not even, I don't want to say they didn't do the bare minimum. That's not what I'm trying to say. It's just, but like the bad communication, it took over a month to release an update that was substantial to fix any of the problems because they didn't even have their own update pipeline correct. They're already charging money for a season pass. They're already charging money for deluxe editions. And some people didn't even get their deluxe edition cosmetics right away on PlayStation. And they had to fix that. Like there's so many issues here. And why? Look at all these problems at launch, these bugs that if they did any worthwhile QA testing prior to launch, they knew about these bugs, or at least half of them. They did nothing about them. They shipped the game anyway. They could have delayed it, but they didn't, and here we are. And so much trust has been lost at this point for Payday 3, for Starbreeze, for the Payday franchise in general. And this update it's not substantial enough. It's just fixing what should have already been there at launch. It's just fixing what should have been fixed before we got our hands on the game. Make no mistake, guys, when you see patch notes that are this laundry list, this long, this is an early access game that should have been early access, that we're testing, that we are the guinea pigs for. If you load this game up, you are a guinea pig. You are a QA tester, unpaid, for Starbreeze, doing what they should have done before the game shipped, and it's going to be up to you to fix it, to identify these issues, report them, and fix it. And it just shouldn't be that way. It just shouldn't. The game should be working out of the box the way it was advertised, the way it was advertised in the promotional material for you to pay for it. All the marketing and all the hubbub, like it's just ridiculous. When you see a laundry list of patch notes like this is what you'd expect from an early access game. Except in an early access game, usually they'd have at least some additions, at least some new stuff, at least something to satiate you, to bring new interest in. Hey, we added a new map, or hey, we added a new gun at least. Hey, we added some new masks, just to say we're sorry, just to say thanks for hanging in there, anything like that. We added 10 grand to everyone's account in-game currency. No, nothing, not a zip, nothing. And that is just a little preview of things to come, guys. Be wary of Starbreeze at this point. We're having a real tough go of it in the AAA game industry at this point. There's a lot of other stuff I'm going to touch on that's going on right now, but it's a tumultuous time right now for software as a service, especially like these live service games. We're just really seeing these issues come to a head as far as live service experiences. I think people are getting tired of it. I think people, there's a large portion of the audience or player base of these games that are just sick of software as a service, these live service games, and they would love to just go back to basics, to when games were finished and just ready to go out of the box, and that just isn't the case at this point right now. So we'll see how it goes. Like I said, stay tuned, keep it locked to this channel, because I'm going to be talking about everything else going on right now in this industry, the way the technology is progressing in this industry and in software in general. And we're going to be trying to break it all down, get to the root of it, and figure out, why is this stuff happening and how we should be holding these companies accountable for the products that they're selling. This isn't charity work that they're doing. Like they're selling us a product for money, for an exchange of service or goods and monetary value. So that being said, we have to hold them to certain standards, hold them to certain values. We, as the consumer, have to decide that. And when we give attention and money and dedication to a product that is as shoddy as Payday 3, it sets a precedent to where it signals to these other companies they can do the same thing and get away with it. They don't have to finish their games. They don't have to make good products. They don't have to raise the bar of quality, and people will eat it up and buy it no matter what. And that's never a good precedent to set, guys. So do not be part of that group. Do not fall into that. And we all have our guilty pleasures. You know what I mean? I boot up Call of Duty just to play with my friends every once in a while. You know what I mean? Like I get it, but like understand, like don't be shilling for these companies in the comments. Don't be like defending this kind of behavior. This is not, this cannot be held as the standard or the status quo in this industry. That would be absolutely damning and damaging. So thank you guys so much for listening and watching. Subscribe if you want to see more stuff like this. We'll catch you on the next one. Sly Elliott out. Hope you're having a great day.